It is the me, such pachinko, saying words at you about Portal. Merry X number of days before Christmas. X equals the number of play points you have at the end of your... So pre-release just started. I can't spend the dollars on pre-release to actually try out these cards for real yet. I could wait until release to do so, but I'm not going to. To start off, let's talk about the new archetype, the what people are calling Float Portal. Float refers to the mechanic of if you have so-and-so unused play points at the end of your turn, you get the effect. The idea of the deck is to have multiple cards that have float effects to go off all at once. Because they don't expend play points, they can stack together at the end of your turn. Say for example, Karula, the very hot tan man over here, has a float effect of if you have at least one play point, he gains +1/+1. Then if you have 3 play points, destroy a random enemy follower. This guy is especially not terrible because he has an enhanced 7, gains stats and evolves himself, and his evolve skill is recover 2 play points. So you're able to play him and recover enough play points to hopefully get the full float effect. To go along... Was that a firework or a gunshot? So say to go along with him, you have effects like Barrage Brawler, which is at the end of the turn, float 1, deal 1 damage to a random enemy follower, and float 3, deal 2 to a random enemy follower, and 1 to face. Gravity Grappler is at the end of your turn, float 1, summon an analyzing artifact, the little baby 1-drop, draw 1. And if you float 3, you summon the mystic artifact, the 3-drop ward. And the gold 2-drop is float 1, puppet, float 3, the puppet gains +4. And like Karula, you do recover just 1 play point when she evolves. So like in a game, the ideal curve would be turn 1 Barrage Brawler, turn 2 Phantom, turn 3 Gravity. That way you could say pass turn 4 and you get damage, puppet with stats, and the 2 artifact followers. And say if there would... Stop doing that. By far the best card in the archetype is going to be Focus. Float 1, you draw 1. Float 3, draw 2 and restore 2. Because it's a 0-drop, it's really easy to actually pull this one off. And how it's an easy enough card to use that you could put this in any other Portalcraft deck, because at worst you can turn this into a 1-drop draw 1 like Insight. Oh my god. But if it wasn't clear before, the main problem of this deck is the fact that you need the perfect curve and you need your followers to stay on the field, because when they start dropping like flies, which they will, you're not going to have the followers out anymore to get your effects. You're going to have to commit more play points to get them back onto the field. So the early game can be very strong. If you happen to get all the right stuff, you can get a lot of different effects. But once your opponent starts controlling your field, what are you supposed to do? Here's what I mean. Say for example, Boost Kicker, the one last card in the archetype. At the end of your turn, deal X damage to all enemy followers. X equals the number of play points you float. So he's actually pretty good. He's a Tone Decay. He can be a really good, really big AoE damage late in the game. But you'll have to commit an entire turn to him alone. Especially because him specifically, he removes the effect. So for him, you have to play him by himself essentially. You're not going to have enough play points to commit to other cards. You're not going to be able to commit to building up a board. And say late game, if you want to restore your field, you're going to have to replay Gravity Grappler, you're going to have to replay Barrage Brawler and Karula. And if you were to play them all at once in one turn, and then wait till next turn to get the effects, I mean that'd be cute and all, except no, those followers are going to die, and you're not going to be able to take advantage of the effects on time. And for that matter, what is the point of the deck? Because there's no win condition. Karula is a good solid card that has big stats, and can kind of enable some plays. But what's the end game over here? What's supposed to be your finisher? Portal has a lot of finisher options, sure, but they're all turn 10 and are really slow. So say, take Omniscient Kaiser for example. Actually, she's probably one of the few unironically good cards in this expansion. Also, that's a he. As a 10 drop, Kaiser is a deal 7 damage to enemy leader, and a random enemy follower, and restores 7 defense, and gains ambush. And also, if you haven't noticed, that is 14/14 on evolve. You can deal burn damage, and maybe turn 11 evolve, hit face for game. That is, of course, a slow win condition, but you could win games with these 7 burn damage to the face, except Float isn't really a deck that can pressure and deal damage to the opponent consistently enough throughout the game to really reach the point of having lethal turn 10 for Kaiser, the way that, say, artifacts with absolutely modest could deal enough burn damage to have lethal on time for Kaiser. Although, to be honest, I do think Omniscient Kaiser as a win condition is actually kind of underrated, because unlike other Portalcraft win cons, Kaiser does restore life to yourself, so Kaiser can help your sustainability to survive long enough for that next turn lethal. I mean, it's not going to happen that often. We still don't know for sure how fast the next expansion is going to be, but Detroit Haven is still a thing despite all the nerfs. Almataz is still a thing. Shadows have a bunch of storms now, but we'll see. The Accelerate one though is actually really good, because select a card in your hand and banish the rest. Draw a card for each card you banished. If this is your first turn, draw one more. So this is kind of like another mulligan. If you open a bricky hand, which you will always have bricky hands with Portalcraft. This is especially good in artifacts, because when you have your augmentation turns, you can just throw away your entire hand to dig for more artifacts and shields. And really quick, let's go over the other cards over here. Say, Fearsome Fortress. It's a ward with a huge body. If If Resonance is active for you, gain +3/+3. That is a 6/6 ward, potentially 8/8 if you have Evolve. Turn 4, which is, I mean, that's huge, but who cares? Maybe I'm kind of biased because big bodies don't intimidate me, but that's probably just because I play Portalcraft. I'm used to getting over huge bodies. Although most decks will have to trade against this guy. In fact, some decks probably won't even have an Evo big enough to actually kill this guy. But that begs the question of what deck can you even put this guy in, right? Artifacts don't have space because you're playing all the artifact support you can get. Float has the space because it's more of a mid-range deck, but if you're not playing your Float support cards, why bother playing Float? I'm probably just underestimating this guy, to be honest. He doesn't have a place in any specific deck right now, but he's not a bad card. I mean, you're gonna kick ass with this guy in take 2. Box of Puppets. I actually like this card. Countdown 1. Transform an enemy follower or amulet into a local ghost teddy bear. That's the 1/3 token that gives the opponent a puppet at the start of their turn. Or is it end of turn? Or whatever. Transform, say, an Anonymous Prayer or any huge follower into something that gives you more puppets. Although the last words is summon your own teddy bear, which, I mean, yeah, your opponent does get their own puppets, but does that really bother you? What can the opponent do with puppets that will piss you off? Because most of the time, you play followers for low cost if you're playing artifacts. If you're playing puppets, lmao. If you're playing puppets, you focus more on storms, so you don't really care if the opponent can control your field necessarily. Overall, a solid card, but it kind of suffers the same issue as the giant ass ward guy, that it doesn't have a specific deck that can fit this yet. And we have this one drop over here who's just straight up destroy an enemy follower whose attack or defense has been raised. So if you're fighting against something like Elana or anything else that has giant followers that have been buffed, It's a 1-drop, just kill it, which is pretty cool. So the pattern that I've noticed in this expansion is Portal has been getting a lot of generic mid-range support, which that actually does kind of fall in line with some of the other recent cards that we've been getting in other expansions, because we got Ragnar Awakening, which is also super generic and can fit into whatever decks. We got Mounier, who's amazing and also generic. It seems like Cygames has been trying to give Portalcraft more mid-range / generic support so that it could stand on its own without having to play artifacts or without having to play puppets specifically. It's just kind of a shame that the one deck that's here that's not artifacts or not puppets, Float, is super awkward from what it seems like so far. Oh, I completely forgot about you. Natura. If Resonance is active for you, or if you have a Natura in Great Tree, gain Ambush until end of opponent's turn. That's why I didn't notice you, is because you have Ambush. It's useless. Natura Portal is useless. That's probably what's been so frustrating about this newest expansion, and well, just all the recent Portal expansions in general, is that a lot of it has been wasted on dead space. Natura Portal was dead space that provided absolutely nothing for the craft. It did not become its own deck because it's all like useless, disconnected garbage. Instead of making the currently established and not at all actually good decks that we do have, artifacts and puppets, instead of giving those decks actual support and making them actually not bad, they've been wasting time and space on Natura Portal and this new Float deck. Now let's get into the real business here. What can you actually do with these cards? And by that I mean, what kind of memes can you do? Once again, Phantom Blade Wielder does generate a puppet, and it does buff that puppet. So you could play this with Dot Operation, buff up the one puppet to be really big, and Purgation Blade, turn 7, give it Storm, lethal, maybe? Is it gonna work? I mean, I've never personally pulled off Purgation Blade Dot Operation lethal before, but am I gonna try? Yeah, I'm gonna try. If you're trying to find a win condition for Float, I mean, the only thing that they could do that's really unique for that deck specifically is Ragnar Awakening into Vesha. Next turn, drop 2, but wait a second. I mean, yeah, that's lethal if you have 2 of these on the field. Float, deal 2 damage while they're at 2 life max, except that Vesha discards your entire hand. So the only way to pull it off is to have these already on the field, or one on the field, top deck into one, which is not gonna happen. On the other hand, Float does have interesting synergy with a certain mechanic. Invocation? So because you do end the turn with unused play points, you can activate invocation effects like Colosseum, which actually does surprisingly greatly benefit the deck. It turns your turn 4 perfect play of 1-drop damage, 2-drop puppet, 3-drop artifacts into all those and Colosseum. Actually, wait, you're gonna run out of space if you have all 3 of those, but you know what I mean. Maybe it's not so bad after all, because Magurohead did just upload a video of him trying out the deck. It's actually not bad, and the deck does go crazy when you do have all of the Float cards going off, and if they do happen to survive. And some of the other new cards, like Athena, are actually pretty cool. Like Athena protects you, protects your field, turns your followers into Masamune, basically. And actually, you're not even that worried about the opponent benefiting off of Colosseum, because you can just kill them pretty easily, especially with the 1-drop, destroy a buffed enemy follower. Although I'm still kind of skeptical, because Magurohead was fighting previous decks that weren't complete, and in one of those games, he fought against a sword that did not kill the 3-drop bronze for about 5 turns straight, so it was allowed to keep generating more and more and more followers, when in most cases that guy's gonna be the first thing to die. His deck is unfinished, the opponent's decks are unfinished, so it's not necessarily a clear indication of how viable the deck is, but it does have some cute, promising plays. This is what I think a finished build might look like, or at least it's the way that I would play it personally. It doesn't look that bad. Once again, I don't know how viable it is, but it looks fun. Speaking of invocation, there's another invocation that we could use in Float. Heaven's Gate? You know, actually, you don't need to play Highlander with Heaven's Gate, because the invocation, it just requires you to end the turn with 5 play points available, which you can do. You can spend your turn 5, just pass, you can play focuses, and this will still go off. Even without Highlander, you're still reducing 3 off the cost of your cards, and all of your float support cards are 3 or below, so you can get away with playing more followers if their cost is reduced to 0. On the other hand, if you did want to play Highlander, Kaiser, reduce cost to 0, did you know that you can craft
temporary
cards during pre-release?
Conserving waters, sustain me. I love that clamor for Dolphiny. Ready or not? How long? Forevermore.
How did you?
We'll meet again.
Strike! Big word you are.
Blessings coming up.
He's quick and nimble and quick and nimble. Why do I never load? Try me, bitch.
I am born of Quicksilver, the immortal Mercury. Embrace your wrath. The Quicksilver will melt.
I will just pour everything I have into one shot.
One dazzling shot coming right up.
Forgive me.
I'll keep searching. Cruelty makes me feel.
Sure, you can have this one.
Oh, going back to Colosseum, there's another neat interaction you can do with Colosseum and Portal. Colosseum puppets. Colosseum gives plus stats to your storm followers, so when you play Marionette Trey, for example, he becomes a 5/5 double attack 7/7 with Evo. Gorilla becomes a 10/10. You could flex and turn Kaiser into a 16/16 on Evo. You can get a 12/12 Aegis with Jotet if you wanted to. I guess we should probably go over artifacts. Artifacts are in a bad mood because artifacts is out on mechanization, which is by far the best artifact generator in the game. Now we gotta try to use our early turns trying to get Dazzling Archer to generate a whole bunch of artifacts for cheap. What sucks about losing mechanization though is that we don't have any other good options left to generate mystic artifacts and radiant artifacts. Yeah, there's Meta Division, but it's not that great. Yeah, there's the new float guy. What's his name? He does make a mystic artifact, but let's face it, you don't really have the space to put this into artifacts because your deck is full of all of your artifact support cards already. You could take out Enos, sure, maybe, but Enos does help us burn to set up Kaiser lethal. You could take out Mounier, but Mounier is going to be very, very important for answering a whole lot of decks in the upcoming meta. Not only do you not have deck space for him, you don't even have field space for him. You need to have him and 2 empty spaces on the field, which isn't going to happen very often because your field is already full of all of your artifacts, your Acceleratium, hell, maybe even Dazzling Archer is going to be in the way too. You do get draws off of augmentation when these get played at the end. Wait, do you? It's at the end of turn. Does augmentation still go off? What else is there? I don't think there's any other decks I can think of that are worth talking about. I believe that's all the words I have to say about the new expansion. I could rant on and on about what we should have gotten and complain about Cygames' card design or priorities, but what day is it? This video is getting uploaded on the day of the expansion, isn't it? Maybe this expansion won't be as bad as the previous ones. But then again, we say that every single expansion. I wish you luck with your packs and whatever you choose to play with. The video is ending now.